Good morning, traders. Welcome to today's market review. This is Fred Razak at CMtrading. Today is September 16, 2019, and today is Monday morning. So looking at the major economic events of the day, nothing scheduled for today, but this Wednesday, we have a federal rate decision coming out of the United States. So please be aware of it, especially that there's going to be pre-market action before then. Now, looking at the markets, we're looking at the euro. British pound rallies versus the dollar while the other currencies stay quiet. Interestingly enough, the pound is changing character as we speak, getting stronger versus the dollar. And looking at the indices, we're having a gap down this morning, and that's mostly as a result of this attack on an oil pipeline in Saudi Arabia. If you haven't heard about it, the Nasdaq was weak last week, so it's an interesting rotation right now in the markets. Now, obviously, this attack on the pipeline has sent commodities just haywire. Oil has a huge gap up, okay, tremendous trading opportunity there today, while gold also gaps up, mostly because of fears of the markets, as the United States is kind of saying if it was Iran, then they're ready to go strike Iran. So really crazy situation in the markets right now. So a lot of volatility should be expected. Now, lastly, looking at the stocks, last week we saw JP Morgan close on its highs. So that could explain why the Dow Jones is selling close to its all-time highs last week, while the Nasdaq has been really weak as the tech stocks have been faltering. Okay, very important to note. But let's take a look at the markets and see what we can expect from today's trading. So we're taking a look here at the EURUSD at a 4-hour chart, and you could basically see last week's major activity after the ECB rate decision right there. But we're hovering near this resistance level of 110.79-ish level, but not breaking above it. Okay, really looking kind of weak, to tell you the truth. However, when we're looking at the GBPUSD, we see a completely different story, as we're looking like we're breaking even higher. Okay, look at that 4-hour chart that we're looking at the GBP, and you could see we've had this massive rally above this resistance of 123. So it is changing character. It's looking much stronger versus the other currencies versus the dollar. So with that said, I'd like to see some follow through, okay? Even if we do get a sell-off today, I'd like to see 123 become my support as opposed to my resistance. So that's something to consider today in the Forex symbols. Now, most of the activity I would put my money on would be on commodities, especially on oil. So let's just jump to oil right now. We're looking at a 4-hour chart. You could barely see this massive gap up. Look at that massive gap up that we've had here. We're trading at $60 a barrel, and this is one of the largest gap ups we've seen in a very, very long time. Okay, I believe it's on record one of the last largest gap up, but we're trading at $60 a barrel. Now that is psychologically a resistance level. Okay, historically not much of a resistance level. Let's take a look at it on a daily chart. Okay, we've had that a little bit of a resistance level this before, but with that said, we could see this possibly fade the gap. Nobody wants to really go into war. Nobody wants to make this into a bigger issue than it already is. So we may see this actually fade, which means that it may just sell off and close up the gap. Okay, now that has yet to be seen today. I would expect some volatility in it today, so just expect that for a possible trade today. Now looking at gold, same story. We had this massive gap up. Okay, now it's trading at, it's close to its open of gap up. If it does break this, this would be my first one to actually say that it will, close up the gap. So I would really look at this for a possible trade today. Now looking at the Dow Jones, we could barely see it. Okay, let's look at a 4-hour chart just a little bit clearer. We're only about 140 points sell off here as a cap down, as we're looking for this, to actually close. Now, with this said, I want to highlight the fact that JP Morgan, one of the largest banks in the United States, sold on its all-time highs on Friday. Okay, look at that. Its all-time highs on Friday, right above its previous highs for the year. Let's look at a daily chart to give you that perspective. Okay, so it's at its all-time highs. Okay, the bank stocks are closing at its all-time highs. This is colossal. This is the most important factor. This is the heart of the United States economy closing at its all-time highs. Okay, I can't emphasize this enough. It's the banks. It's the most important element of the economy, which means that the banks are expecting to have better revenue, better sales this year, and so the rest of the market should follow through. But the question is that if that's going to actually happen, because when we look at the tech stocks, it's not happening. Okay, we look at Google, not so much on its highs, right? Looking at Microsoft, not even close to its highs. Looking at Apple, sold off. So, this shift has to really happen where the rest of the market actually is carried through, okay? Otherwise, these tech stocks are going to pull down this massive, pull up by all these major banks, okay? So I do expect volatility today again, especially since the market is digesting this news with this oil pipeline being bursted. So just be very careful, trade a little bit defensively today because I do expect some extra volatility. This is Fred Razak. I wish everybody a great trading day. Thank you.